Hey, it's Paris. I am here in Los Angeles at the Grounded 2 preview event, and I have a couple gentlemen from Obsidian to talk about the game. So, can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Chris Parker. I'm the game director on Grounded 2.
And I'm Marcus Morgan. I'm the executive producer on Grounded 2.
Thank you both for taking a few minutes to talk to me about the game. Now, before we get into Grounded 2, I want to get your opinion, I guess, or thoughts. We didn't know anything about this game until the Xbox showcase. So, what was that like for you being able, you're working on this game, and then a few weeks before it's actually coming out to the world, you finally get to announce it?
So the crazy thing about that was we didn't actually think we could actually keep that under wraps
Yeah.
until we got there. And in fact, the day of a showcase, we were just sitting in our room going, I can't believe we made it.
Right.
I can't believe we made it, and the game has not leaked yet. Like, this is crazy. But super, super exciting for us. It was something that actually Marcus and I talked about months and months and months ago, and we were just like, how do we want to announce this game? And we were like, man, if we could just announce it, showcase, and then just drop it like 6 weeks, 8 weeks later, that would be amazing. And somehow we pulled that off.
Yeah, I would. The surprise and delight and deliver honestly has been in our heads for like maybe even longer, like maybe years, like
Yeah.
of time of trying to do that. And, part of that just comes from the joy of, when I would watch E3, the best part wasn't what you knew. It was the surprise that showed up, right? And I think that we wanted to bring that magical experience. It's so hard now with the internet, and all y'all do a good job of figuring out what the heck's going on all the time. But there is some magic to that surprise, and I think that we were I was so happy that we pulled it off, and I hope to people, not only Grounded fans, but just other folks who just caught from complete left field that magical feeling of like, oh, there was a surprise and we had no clue that was happening. And by the way, what's wrong with Obsidian? Why are they shipping 3 games this year? That was it just makes for a special time and a special moment, and I'm really, really happy because those moments I think are special to all of us, playing games and going to those
absolutely.
showcases and seeing those things.
So I can tell you from personal experience, I was at a community watch party for the showcase, and we're sitting there watching it, and the crowd just erupted when it was Grounded 2 and, oh no, it's coming now. It was like, wait, what? Like, everyone just roared and cheered about it, super excited for the game to come out. Now, I'm a fan of Grounded. I've played, obviously, Grounded 1 through the entire game preview to 1.0, and I've had a chance to play Grounded 2 before this event. I have to say, playing it solo is brutal. I'm playing on medium difficulty, and it has been but a good brutal.
Okay.
Like, this is like the ultimate survival game, and that's what I love about what you've been able to create with first Grounded, and now obviously here bringing this to Grounded 2. But before I get into actual game details about it, I'm curious, what was the thought process that, hey, you already created this great world of Grounded 1, why move to Grounded 2?
Yeah, so, I think a lot of people look at Grounded and they saw, when 1.0 came out, and it was like, at that point in time, you had tens of millions of people play, and it seemed like this game that had gotten all these updates, and it almost felt more like a live game that's like out in the world. But our major touchstones on Grounded 1 were games like Subnautica, The Forest, these games that kind of did have a beginning and middle and end, and that was always like kind of in the back of our minds of, if this is successful, that's what we'd want to do is continue to make sequels, to continue to tell more stories. But the other thing was, we launched Grounded 1, we started the journey of Grounded 1 5 years ago.
Yeah.
On the Xbox One.
Yeah.
On older technology, older hardware, and some of those things were holding, like, we wanted to push much further, and there were more tools for us to be able to take advantage of as we got into the future. And so to do things like buggies, to have a more expansive park, just to add more features, if we would have had to do that on old platforms, like we would have had to do things like hard loading, which just takes you out of the immersion. So all of those things of the features and the story and the content really motivated us and wanted us to make a Grounded 2. And honestly, like, the seeds of it, while it didn't come into fruition till a couple of years ago of us actually working against making a Grounded 2, the seeds of it were there, and the spirit of there and the hope of it was there from day one. You always hope you can keep making more. So that would be kind of my big thing. And I just will say one more thing just about what you said earlier. I think it warms our heart to hear you say it was brutal, but it was fun, because trying to strike that balance is always really tough.
Yeah.
Because with Grounded, we want it to be accessible, but we want people who are, survival games are hardcore. Like, they're a more core experience. And so finding that balance, like, I'm happy to hear you say that. You said it with a smile, so I hope that, that was legit. But, like, I'm happy to hear you say that, because that's a good balance. I'm sorry, Chris, I'm hogging the mic. It's harder without the...
You can hog the mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
no, it's good. I don't want to take all your time by saying everything you just said. I think you answered it really well, Mark.
I'll pass it proactively.
Let's move on to this point. So you partnered with Ids. I always say their name wrong, but Ids Montreal. So how did that partnership come about?
Yeah, so when we were trying to figure out like how to move the Grounded franchise forward, like one of the things that we thought was like, because Grounded 1 was made by this like small, very like intimate team, and we knew if we're going to do bigger and we're going to do more with the sequel, we needed to expand that team. We thought the best way to do that would be to find a really high quality like AAA class partner that we could like basically become like teammates with and build out this world of Grounded 2. And so I don't know exactly how it happened. Marcus probably knows that more. He's more the biz dev guy than me. But like we wound up talking with Ids Montreal about it. And you know what? Like their ideas and their thoughts and everything that they thought that they might want to do in something like a Grounded 2 just like fit really, really well with us. And we were like, man, this just feels like a good fit, a natural fit. And they were super, super excited about it too. Like not just a natural fit because like they're very story-oriented and they understand character progression, and they make games that are like very similar to our role-playing games, but aren't exactly the same, and always very high quality. But like they were just super, super geeked about Grounded. Like they loved that game too, and we're like, okay, this just makes sense. And so that's how that relationship got started. Over 2 years ago now, and we've been working with them throughout, and it's been great. They've been just a natural fit for us, and we work together really, really well.
Yeah, I would, I'm not going to rehash everything Chris said, but Grounded started as a community-driven kind of game.
Yeah, I want to get into that.
Community-driven development, and this was a natural extension of that. Of hey, we want to do more, we want to push further. We're also making a lot of games at Obsidian internally. How can we do that? Well, let's find a partner that shares these values, that has this pedigree, and I don't like. It was a little bit of us searching for it, but they were just the perfect match because they were already part of the Grounded community as well. They just happened to be professional game developers, and it just kind of was a nice. I always romanticize some of these stories, but like just a nice extension of that evolution of community-driven development and collaborative development, and it's been a really special partnership.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I want to circle back to community because I think that is the core element of everything that you've been doing. But for people that are watching this going, well, what is Grounded 2? What is this all about? Can you talk about where is the story picking up in Grounded 2? And you also mentioned there is a new park, so kind of talk about that too.
Chris, you described this way better than me in all of the interviews we do, so I'm going to give it back to you. Do way better. Do way better.
Well, so first off, the story in Grounded 1, just to give a little backstory, it's not necessary that you played the game or that you know the story, but in Grounded 1, some teenagers are shrunken by Ominent, this evil corporation, down to just the size of ants. They're sort of miraculously sort of saved by somebody putting them into this backyard to at least have a chance to survive on their own. And over the course of the game, they eventually, if you completed the game, you wind up embiggening yourself back to normal size so that you're able to go home. And so in Grounded 2, we're picking up the story. It's about 2 years later. So the kids are a little bit older. They've matured a little bit. But it's the same 4 teens that we knew from Grounded 1. And a little bit older, but same sort of quirks, same like great personality, just a really enjoyable bunch of teenagers. And I won't get into the story too much, but again, through a bunch of sort of crazy events that happen at the beginning of the game, and based on things that will be revealed over the course of early access as part of the story get embroiled in all of this again. And but this time, before it was in a scientist, Dr. Tully's backyard. This time they're in the Brook Hollow Park. Brook Hollow is the city where they all live, and it's just the central park in the middle of downtown. And they get shrunk in there, and they're going to have the same sorts of challenges, but with lots of new and different twists and turns, different creatures, all kinds of new obstacles and hurdles that they'll be going over.
All those creatures are trying to kill you. All of them. But go ahead.
Almost all of them.
Yeah.
There's some nice ones. Is sometimes just mean teenagers kill them. But yes, almost all of them are going to try and kill you. In a hopefully challenging but fun experience in the backyard.
And it absolutely is. So, community. Again, Grounded 1 was literally founded off of community and suggestions. Like, I believe the buggies that are in Grounded 2 now was a suggestion from the community.
Absolutely.
that
Buggy
you're
is
able to
basically
put-
the longest standing ask for the
Yeah.
community. Yeah.
So, you talked about early access. This is a game preview. Why was that important to do it again for Grounded 2? Because you've obviously gotten a lot of lessons learned from Grounded 1. Why not just jump straight into 1.0 for Grounded 2? Or is it that you want the community to be involved with this process of leading up to 1.0?
Yeah, I'll give you the microphone in just a second, Marcus. But I just want to say that the really funny thing is I don't think, at least for me personally, ever really considered it not being a sort of a early access game preview title. Like, the community has been so important and integral to developing Grounded that it just always felt natural that we would do that again. And even when we first started talking about some of the big features like buggies, it was like, okay, how do we base our development roadmap off of this like super important feature being ready enough for the community to start testing it? And how do we build our actual development schedule like around that? And because it was just sort of natural for us to sort of be thinking about that from the very, very beginning. Because yeah, like the Ground community is awesome, and why not have them involved the whole time?
A very basic way of like, well, why did we do it for Grounded 2 was the results of Grounded 1. Like where we started at for Grounded 1 to where we got to by Grounded 1 1.0, it was leaps and bounds. And a good chunk of that is the hard work that the team puts in. But the other good chunk of that was developing alongside the community. It helps hold us accountable. It helps get us new creative ideas. It helps inspire us. So there was just such a benefit in that arc for the first game that we were like, we have to do it again for the second game. And hopefully people feel like, well, we're the starting point where we're at for Grounded 2. Where could it go? Because that's how we think about it, is like, where can it end up at the end of it? I also just think it's, as Chris said, we're approaching it this time too with even more intentionality around how we're leveraging and how we're working with the community, right? So, like Chris talked about for our buggies, you know, when we were first talking, we were like, do we need to try to jam a bunch of buggies into the very first early access? Because it was asked, like, how many buggies we put in? And we took a step back and we're like, let's not put in every single buggy from day one, because this is a community feature. Like, this is one that needs to evolve and adapt based off of community feedback. And if we anchor ourselves too far down this path, it's going to be harder to adjust as we go forward. So let's lean in on that. And I believe that buggies will be significantly better because of it, because we kind of lean into that fact. So, you know, maybe a little bit of simplicity of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But it's also just an enjoyable way to make games with the community and with the fans. And the game benefits from it. Great.
But you made the point that the story and things will unfold throughout the early access. So part of that is you will be continuing to build out this world of Grounded 2 during this great game preview.
Absolutely. And one thing just to be super clear about story is, you know, in Grounded 1, one of our learnings was we didn't have a ton of story out the gate in early access, and we delivered most of that at 1.0. And people wanted more out of it. I mean, it's Obsidian. People kind of like expect that from us. So for this one, much bigger on the story out the gate. We have a full kind of act 1 of the story for you to play through. And throughout early access, what we'll do is a lot of little world building tidbits, maybe some secret Easter eggs here and there, and then we'll deliver a good chunk of the story at 1.0 as well. But what I kind of like in that moment is the little cat and mouse that we'll play with the community of, what theories do y'all have? Like, can we trick you by putting something random in the game, so in case you're getting too close to the trail?
Yeah.
So that'll be kind of a fun experience to play through. That like is different and unique that you can do in early access or game preview that you can't do if you just kind of put it all out there, right?
Now, will the park expand?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hand this back to you. The park this is kind of the first roughly third of the park for early access, and we plan to expand it much further with major updates. Really similar. Like, there's some things, like I said before, that worked really well with Grounded 1. Very similar in terms of trying to expand the area, and it'll be much bigger than it is to start.
Yeah, not a lot to add to that outside of saying one of the things we really wanted to do with this version of early access was to essentially establish a baseline for the rest of the park too. Like, make sure that we had a really great starting area that has all of the sort of resources you need, a really great cast of creatures to fight against, some of the initial like NPCs that we wanted available in the game, and that gives us that foundation to continue to build the park and make it bigger. And as we start adding more things onto the park, make them a little bit more experimental and a little bit more sort of outside of the norm of what you may have already seen in Grounded 1.
Now, the best part of Grounded 1 is playing with your friends. I have not been able to do that yet in Grounded 2, playing early by myself. That's why it's been so brutal. So co-op will obviously be in Grounded 2. I guess the question I'm looking for to understand, as I'm building out my world, even in early access, I'm going to be able to invite my friends to my world. That world will, whatever happens in that world is static to that world, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously I can go to another friend's world. His could be completely different as far as the events that happen in there, etc. So that's how it'll play out in Grounded 2?
Yeah, so the way that our shared world system works is essentially you can save your own game, you can invite your friends into it, and that becomes a shared persistent world that as long as you've invited your friends to participate in that, they can essentially load up that shared world save, play it on their own, advance some stuff, maybe build another base or collect some resources or whatever may have you. And then when you come back to what may have been originally just your game, all of those things will have been saved persistently for you, which makes for a nice way to share things. You know, it's real hard, at least it's hard for me, to always get 3 friends together and actually play all at the same time. And maybe you can like squeeze an hour out of the middle where you're going to do it, but I want to start 2 hours earlier. I want to start half an hour later. And it makes it a real nice way to share the world and be able to have some persistence there, but in a really simple way.
The other thing I just want to say is, you mentioned yourself having some trouble. The nice part about the introduction of buggies is you're not purely alone this time around, right?
Yeah.
So having buggies, even if you are playing solo, it does kind of help make sure, like ease some of that. If you take the time to go hatch a couple buggies, now you got a crew. You don't always need another person there. And the other thing that's kind of funny though is when you do add all those buggies and you do invite your friends to eventually play, that's when the chaos and fun factor really start to come in, because it can get, the difficulty scales with more people. And when your buggies go down and you're freaking out about your buggies being down, you're like, save my buggy. That's when the fun really comes. Or depending on how you enjoy a game, the fun or the chaos really comes in. So, but remember, spend the time getting the buggies. That'll help you out even if you're playing solo.
No, of course. And I keep saying brutal, but I want to be clear that it is a fun brutal.
Yeah.
Because I guess we haven't even really talked about it. We can end on this. This is a survival game. And for people that are jumping into Grounded for the first time with Grounded 2, kind of talk about that gameplay aspect of surviving in this world.
Yeah, I mean, it is tried and true to most survival experiences. You're going to go out, you're going to chop down grass blades, you're going to build bases, but hopefully it's a little bit, this is why the buggy complement, to us, it wasn't just about putting a bug that you can just ride on. It was like, how do we integrate every aspect of the survival experience? And especially with the Red Soldier amp, it helps expedite building so much more. It's like you can carry more grass planks, you can build on top of your buggy, you can move faster across the world, you have more carrying capacity. So all of that kind of becomes a little bit easier again if you spend the time to go get a buggy. So all of those elements are still there to in terms of Grounded 1 survival loop. And we've had some twists and turns with it. Things like the introduction of the Omni tool to help kind of the onboarding be kind of maybe a little bit expedited, a little bit more convenient. But the survival loop that you had from Grounded 1 will more or less stay the same.
Yeah, I'll just add, there are the sort of classic survival mechanics, right? You're going to need to learn where am I going to get my food from? What am I going to be drinking? Where am I going to sleep at night? You know, all of these sorts of things. A very classic survival game, and all of those have been maintained from Grounded 1 to Grounded 2. I think in a lot of ways we've tried to make them more streamlined, faster, maybe a little bit easier. But yeah, you're going to head out into the world, and you're probably going to find some insects that are basically really going to kick your butt, like, you know, and until you can level up your gear and get better armor and just get better at the game loop, those are going to be challenging, interesting adventures for players. And I think that's where the survival is really fun for me, is because it's a sandbox. You don't always know what's around the next corner or exactly what you're going to need to be successful. And that's what makes it fun, is you've got to try and guess what you're going to need for the next thing and be prepared for whatever that challenge might be.
I do have a question separately. Is this supposed to be green and not red?
No, we're good.
Okay, cool.
Good.
I was nervous that the mic wasn't picking up, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I saw red, and red usually means off. I'm sorry.
No. We're totally fine. And I'm gonna leave all that in.
Please do.
But the one question, you're talking about resources and all that. It's hilarious. Like, I've been able to play it for a week so far, right? And I've known a few other people that are playing it. The number one text that I've got from people that are also playing it: where are grass seeds?
You know what? I've gotten this question too, like from people, and then I answered it in a couple of them. So all right, if you look up, there's grass blades in the, like, maybe we should just solve this for everyone in the audience. The grass seeds are on grass blades that have seeds on the top, and all you have to do is kind of like look up at the top of them, and they're right outside, like pretty early on in the game. So they're there and prevalent. But this is a funny thing, and this is the beauty of early access, and this is the vulnerability we will share. Is like, clearly we need to signal that a little better, because it's a number one question.
Well, the other thing is
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. The other thing that's interesting about this is that there were grass seeds in Grounded 1. They just didn't do anything. They were just like kind of a waste of space that didn't really do anything. And when you cut down a piece of grass that has them, a whole bunch of them fall down, but usually only one or two actually persist.
Yeah.
And so I think that like, again, community and seeing what people say about things, I think that just doesn't register with people, because if 6 of them hit the ground and 5 of them disappear, maybe they just don't notice that one is left over and that's the one they need to pick up. But yeah, you should be able to harvest like 20 of them, like right outside the first ranger stations. For us, it's just like, okay, like we screwed up somewhere in here and we need to figure out how to do this.
I purposely brought that up because, like I said, I've had a few people text me, and I think I just got lucky. Because, like you said, I looked up and I remember I'm like, oh, okay, I'm good, and I progressed along, and I'm like, what do you mean you're having problems? You just chop it down here. And they're like, I'm not seeing any seeds. I'm like,
we appreciate the community even more so because they help their friends continue playing the game. Maybe we can make some tweaks to it. So,
well, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk to me about Grounded 2. Like I said, I keep saying brutal, but I'm loving it. I can't wait till I can jump in and play with a bunch of my friends. And early access starts when? What date?
Tuesday, July 29th. So we're excited for everyone to jump in to early access and game preview. The other thing I just want to say thank you. Like, honestly, this is, I know, you cover a lot of stuff. This is kind of your job, but still, this is so meaningful to us to be able to have your expertise to reach out to the fans, to take the time to play the game. There's a lot of games that you could be playing, so thank you so much for taking the time.
No, of course. Like I said, being at that community watch party and seeing the genuine excitement that people had, where this came out of nowhere, says it all. I mean, you've done a fantastic job with Grounded 1, and Grounded 2 already is shaping up to be even better.
So, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.